welcome back to Dimensional Soul Healing with your host, Grayson Kahn. Today is going to be a really good conversation. I'm super excited. It might be very emotional for you, so please be sure to pause this podcast, grab a journal, grab a piece of paper, a pen, or a pencil, and just unload everything that needs to come out, okay? Because I have gone through a lot of loss in my life, but not in a very extreme way, I would say. And I'll get to that later on in the podcast with my own stories and experience. But for those individuals that are experiencing the more extreme end of the spectrum of loss, those who are going through famine, who are experiencing war, who are homeless, I just want to say, please be sure to go easy on yourself. I'm going to bring a lot of grace to this conversation, okay? That is one of my natural abilities for my soul, is bringing grace to intense conversations like this one. So I just want to say, as a disclaimer, please go really easy on yourself and listen to this podcast more than once, because it might hit you different listening to it 2 or 3 times. So, okay. And before we get started, I want to let you guys know that I think I updated y'all last time on the last podcast, but the Financial Wound Healing course is coming January 1st. I am halfway done with it. I feel like I have gotten to the nittiest of grittiest, backbone, skeleton structure for that course program, and I will be adding on to it. Probably not too much, but I will add on a little bit as more information comes my way. But I feel like for those of you who really start from the bottom financially, this is going to benefit you so much. I feel like it's going to set a lot of you financially free. It's going to lift the consciousness veil that was placed over your access to financial freedom. I cannot wait. Disclaimer though, it is not a full 100% guarantee that it is going to do that for you, right? Because you do have to put in work yourself. However, this will be extremely healing in the non-physical for you and for your bloodlines, and also for your future progeny moving forward. So it's a win-win for everybody. And then last but not least, I have my online yoga memberships. Those are now officially live. So I have 4 classes weekly for $88 monthly. You can cancel at any time. I don't have any weird contract situation going on like a lot of places do. I can't stand that. I literally can't stand not having the freedom to quit when something doesn't resonate with anymore. So yeah, I really wanted to bring that energy to my membership, because I just want people to experience the freedom to just leave when they're no longer resonating with something. So, and not being withheld from quitting or something, with Planet Fitness and stuff, and they're well, you need to write us a piece of mail in the mail, and then write your email down and your first and last name and your birthday and your social security and the Declaration of Independence, and we really have to make sure it's you before you quit. Come on, oh my god, I can't stand that. So anyways, yeah, that is there for you guys. I have an unlimited membership as well at $222. So you get, in both memberships, you get a channeled message for the monthly energies that will help you hold that in mind and set your own intentions for that month with your individual practices that you choose to do. And then, let's see what else. And then 4 classes for the basic, which is the $88 a month. And then the $222, so the unlimited comes with unlimited classes. So it gets all the classes. And also a personalized sound bath that is directed to raising your vibrational frequency. So for the month of December, I focus on raising the vibrational frequency of the energy body, which in turn helps you integrate that into your physical body, which will help you with your physical life. It will help with your foundations. It will help with your finances. It will help with your career. It just helps with so many things. And so, yeah, every month is going to have a different unique intention for the sound bath. And then, Yeah, so the basic membership for yoga, I will only have 4 classes for that month on the basic, and then those classes will stay in the unlimited membership. So if you really enjoyed December's classes and you're like, oh my gosh, like I want to do that again, like definitely consider signing up for the unlimited. That way you can revisit it as much as you want. Like those classes will not get removed. They literally just stay up there in a like a library, like a yoga library. So yeah, but for the 4 classes a month, the previous month's classes will be taken down and the new ones will be published. So just as a future reference for you guys on that. All right, let's get started. All right, guys, are we ready? So I want to talk about the different kinds of traumas that induce this particular wound, okay? The wound of loss. Death, okay? This could look like losing your pets. It could look like war. It could look like a loved one passing away. It can look so many different ways, okay? And I want to say with my own experience, my own life experience with this particular trauma is I experienced this wound when I was in high school, and I adopted this black cat. I loved her so much. And my mom came home from work like late that night. Like she got home at 11 p.m. and the cat like ran outside. So I don't know if she didn't see it or not. But she went to work the next morning like 7 a.m. and my cat was lying on the street with one of its eyeballs just out of its head, just completely got ran over in the middle of the night. And it was so tragic for me. It was so intense because I'm so connected, just alone. I'm so connected to nature and animals, but specifically cats. Like, I feel like my soul is really connected to, like, the feline species, like, on and off of this planet, okay? And so it just absolutely broke my heart. It shattered it into pieces, and I felt so numb. I felt like, oh my gosh, like, you know, if I was just living alone, like this wouldn't have happened. If I was doing this, this wouldn't have happened. Like I just started doing, like questioning like everything and just backtracking, like trying to think of how I could prevent it. Oh my gosh, her soul is like coming through right now. Wow. Okay, yeah. One second. Wow, was not expecting this. I'm actually going to pause this podcast and I'll come back because I don't want it to be silent. So give me just 1 second. Okay, wow, that honestly just like makes me want to tear up a little bit. She just came through and she said that it was her time to go. She wanted to leave because she was ready to move on. She didn't want to be on this planet anymore. And she was so grateful that she could take that exit point through the opportunity of me being her pet mom. I'm sorry. That was really touching. Okay. Moving on. Also, other forms of trauma that can induce this wound is like a big loss of money. So losing everything you have. I went through that also. I went through that multiple times. My entire life, I did not have a good relationship with money. And that was because, 1, of a lack of knowledge, and 2, because of, for ancestral purposes. Right, like I really just wanted to extract a lot of wisdom as much as I could from going through this wound. Let me see what else. Yeah, so like any and all extreme losses. And I want to dip my toes. I want to dip us, actually not even dip our toes. I want to full deep dive into this conversation that might be controversial. It might be polarizing. I don't really care because we need to talk about it. We need to shed light on this conversation in a different way that maybe nobody else has done before. So, as of right now, it is December 19th, 2023. There is war going on in Israel, Palestine, the Middle East, okay? There has been war going on there for generations, okay? Generations. And so, right now, there is a lot of negative stuff that is going on. There is a lot of loss. There is a lot of death. And it's very extreme over there, okay? I have family in Israel, and because of my Jewish heritage on my dad's side of the family, when I was 18 years old, I got the once in a lifetime opportunity to visit Israel for free through this program called Birthright. And so basically these two guys just joined forces and decided that they were going to fund all Jewish kids around the world, no matter where they came from, no matter what their background was, no matter if they were broke, no matter if they were rich, it didn't matter, as long as like you were Jewish. Like, they would literally investigate you to make sure that you weren't lying, right? And so, yeah, they would literally fly you out to Israel for free. You would stay in Israel for about 10 days, and then you could extend your trip if you chose to do so. But that costed extra. I wish I would have done that. Oh my God. It is like my dream to go back and go to Jordan and Egypt. And I absolutely love the Middle East. There is such a homey feeling about it. Like, I just love the energies and the energetic portals that are there. It's just so beautiful. It's like it gives me like flower of life energy, like very sacred, like just ancient wisdom and healing. I don't know. I just love it. I love it so much. But anyway. And so in Birthright, you get to go around the entire country of Israel. You go the north, west, east, south, everything in between, and you actually go to this small town called Safat, which is like right outside the Gaza Strip, okay? We went there, and in that small town right next to the Gaza Strip, they had bomb shelters. They had bomb shelters for the elementary students, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is really crazy. And we were all asking them, like, why? Why are there bomb shelters here? Like, this is really, like, retarded. Like, what is that? Like, why? And there were also, like, huge, what do you want to call them? Like, you know when you, like, go to the shooting range or you, like, fire your gun and there's, like, the shell of the bullet? I can't remember all the freaking labels for the names of all that stuff. But anyways, it was like the shells of like missiles that were fired at Israel were just like sitting there in this small town, like in this little like square next to all these markets and stuff and stores. And I'm just like, what? Why would somebody like keep like a record, like a physical representation of like shellings of missiles? Like, what is the purpose of that? Like, why, right? Like, I'm just questioning at this point. I'm 18 years old and I'm just questioning everything. And so we drove on our bus, like, to this little hill, and we got out where you could literally overlook the entire Gaza Strip. And you could hear, like, their Arabic music playing, like, oh, like, from a distance. And all of the buildings that we saw over that hill, they were all, like, concrete, like, no windows, like, very creepy looking, like, there was just no life there, okay? There was, like, no life. It was just super low vibrational, super sad, like, it was like the people that were living there were just like living, like just existing on like the barest of the barest minimum. Like that is the best way I can describe that, okay? And I could tell that there was so much hatred. I could feel so much anger, so much resentment, like so much, so deeply. Like that emotional energy there just ran so deeply. Like not even in the people, like alone. It was like in their land. Like the land of Israel felt very different than the land of Gaza. Like it was very different in vibrational frequency, which I thought was interesting. And this all happened like before I had my out of body experience. And so it's funny because I literally was so sensitive to energies, like even without me having my out of body experience, like I still was aware of like what I was feeling, which is pretty cool. Anyways, and so long story short, I just want to say that all of this war that is going on in that part of the world, I have family that still live over there, and I just want to like bring light to this. I want to bring light to the division that the reptilian governments are trying to project onto the populations like all over the world. I just want to say this is coming from my heart and my soul. Stop getting involved in their bullshit. Stop giving them your energy. Stop participating in the divide. It is not Israel versus Palestine. It is us going versus the powers that were. The fucking draconian reptilian governments that are trying to create war, chaos, and division. Stop being against each other. Stop. It's not doing any good. It's not doing you. It's not doing the planet any good. It's not doing humanity any good. It's not doing us as a collective any good. Okay? There is no difference between an Israeli person versus a Palestinian person. Now I really want to take this to the next level. So this is the same bullshit that they did in the United States with the white and the black people, right? They created this massive divide. I don't even know what year it was, or the years where Martin Luther King came up and he was the one that was stop fucking doing this. This is stupid. Stop being against somebody because of their skin color. They're literally doing the same shit in the Middle East. They're putting people from a different, just who literally grew up in one part of the world, they're saying, you know what, because they were born in Israel, hate them. You know what, because they were born in Palestine, hate them. Stop doing that. It sickens me. It disgusts me. I can't stand it. I literally cannot stand it. And I'm so tired of listening to the ignorant freaking people walking around the grocery store and ignorant people walking around the freaking United States who have never been to the Middle East, who have absolutely zero idea what they're talking about. And they're like, oh, well, I stand with Israel or I stand with Palestine. How about we stand for fucking unity consciousness? How about we literally go, you know what? Enough is enough. We need to stop fighting each other. We need to stop being divisive over each other and literally realize that the real issue, the real problem, are the draconian fucking reptilians that are the ones who took the land and caused all of this division and this bullshit in the first place, okay? It's not the fucking Israeli people. It's not the Palestinian people. It's the fucking draconians, okay? I don't know how many times I gotta say that to people, but you really think that human beings are the ones doing all of this bullshit? No. It is time to wake the fuck up and realize that we are not the only ones on this planet. We're not the only species on this planet. We're not the only species in this universe, okay? And we need to ask ourselves and go within and say, why is it that there's so much destruction here? Why is there so much anger here? Anger tells you that there is a boundary violation. There's a violation of boundaries, okay? So, here's the thing. I don't know the entire story of how Israel was created because I'm not going to speak on that, right? I will not speak on things I don't know or have not experienced. So I'm just not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go into how Israel was even created in the first place. The whole purpose that you all need to know and that you need to hear is that the reason why the land was taken and going missing and people were getting pushed out of a certain area, you have to realize that it is not because of a human being. It's not because they were born in fucking Israel. It's not because they were born in Palestine. It's not because they were born in Syria. It's not because they were born in the United States. Shut up. Stop doing that. Stop. It's really annoying. It's really childish. People that are doing that are acting like fucking toddlers and idiots. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. You're literally being a fucking idiot if you are just participating in the brainwashing and the conditioning and the programming. Stop. Okay? It is time to wake up to who is actually causing all of this crap and making the conscious choice to do something different. That is the only way that part of the world and any other part of the world is going to experience unity and peace. All right? That is the only way. The only people that are trying to sabotage you and other people are the ones with negative intentions who still think that they're in charge, okay? They haven't fully collapsed in the power structures yet, but that's because everybody on this planet has not stood up and made the choice that they're going to take them down. Right? All it takes is one person to be that beacon of light, to be like, enough is enough. Stop. with this area of the world and other areas of the world have just experienced fighting and war for generations and generations and generations and generations. Where is it getting us? Nowhere. It is the same cycle, just repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating with no different outcome. It's the same thing as a toxic, traumatic relationship. You get into a relationship with a narcissist and you're like, well, maybe just one day, if I do this, it'll be different. It'll never be different. It'll never be different until you choose to leave that relationship. That is the only way something different is going to happen for you, is when you choose to break out of the cycle. That is the same thing. That is the same reflection collectively that we need to see play out in all parts of the world, not just the Middle East, but all parts of the world. Break out of that cycle of being divisive. Break out of that cycle of being racist. Break out of that cycle of wanting to fucking fight over dumb stuff. Right? Stop. And I'm not saying that, all the people who are fighting over their loved ones who have been killed, I'm not saying that that's dumb. I'm just saying that the real threat here is the fucking Dracos, okay? The Dracos are the ones that are trying to sabotage this planet. This planet has been under attack for a very long time, and it's time to wake up to their corruption and their crap, okay? And I feel like when everybody becomes aware of them and becomes aware of who has been in charge of the government structures this entire time, I feel like that is when we're going to be able to fully and actually experience peace and unity, right? Because it's going to take the people to stand up against the toxic species, against the toxic ones in charge, and unite with the healthy, higher vibrational species that are helping us from a distance, right? So for those of you who are not aware of the Galactic Federation of Light, they are... you guys can go search up Elizabeth April about them. She goes way into detail about them. She connects with them. And so I'm actually a volunteer of the Galactic Federation. I'm literally a physical incarnate volunteer of the GFL. And so in the future on this planet, humanity is going to join forces with the Galactic Federation of Light, and we're going to be experiencing more peace, balance, harmony. We're going to have more advanced technologies, easier lives, easier lifestyles, okay? This way that we're currently living on this planet is very archaic, okay? Let me tell you something. When I was 3 years old, I remember I was walking with my dad at some park in Charleston, South Carolina. There's tons of parks there. And I remember looking up at the sky, 3 years old, okay? And I looked up and I saw an airplane flying above us. And I was just like, wow, that's old. Ew, ghetto, right? I literally saw that and I was like, ghetto. Who still, uses that, right? It's because of the powers that were. They have been withholding so much stuff from humanity, so much access to free energy, clean water, just... clean air, okay? Don't get me started on the chemtrails, and I feel like this conversation needed to happen today. It needed to happen because we need to bring awareness as to what the root cause and the root issue, where is it coming from, okay? That is the key thing. When you're watching the news, if you watch the news, which I hope you don't, if you're listening to this podcast channel, okay? And you're that kind of person that just listens to the news and you're like, oh, you know what? Since this one man or one woman on this TV screen says this is the facts, then okay, it's the facts. Come on. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? It's the same thing with the Scientology belief system and the popsicle people they believe in, okay? Just don't get me started. Come on, how do you listen to that? And you're like, wow, it all makes sense now. Come on, guys, please start learning to think, please start learning how to think for yourselves, right? If my content doesn't resonate with you, awesome. Learn how to think for yourself, okay? Which eventually you're going to find your way back here, but because I literally go as deep as it goes and as high as it goes, and I just want to say, you need to understand what the root cause of your energetic wounds are, okay? And for some of those root causes, they're very polarizing, they're very controversial because of the amount of projection and manipulation that is around that wound. And I can't stand that. I literally can't stand that shit. It just drives me up the wall. And so, anyways, I just want to say that if you are going through that wound currently, I'm really sorry, and I really pray that you create a better situation for yourself and you get out of that energy, that crazy energy, and I hope everybody that coexists there as people, right? Because we're all the same species. We're all people, except for the government. They're not people. They're like literally a whole different species, and they've been here for eons, okay? And so anyway, I really hope that one day that everyone, like the Israelis and the Palestinians and the Syrians and the Egyptians, like everybody over there, I'm just going to plant the seed. I really wish and project, you know what, let's co-create this together. Let's co-create all of the people living in that part of the world just all of a sudden going, you know what, we're fed up. We're fed up fighting each other. We're fed up getting absolutely nowhere in life. We're fed up repeating the same cycles that our ancestors were repeating because they didn't have access to, higher knowledge. They didn't get access to knowing that draconians were the ones that are causing all their problems. Like, they didn't get access to that information, but we all have access to that information now. So now that we have access to newer information, now we get to make a different choice. And our new choice is that we're all going to stand up together and collapse like what has not been working. We're collapsing the old government structures. Like, we're going to take them down. Let's get together and take them down. How do you overthrow a dictator? You cut off their resources. Okay? Typical Mean Girls quote, but hey, it works. You literally have to start cutting off their resources. If every country just started cutting off of their resources, wow, how fast would this planet reflect peace and harmony and unity? Like, yeah, there's going to be stages of grief. There's going to be stages of anger. Like, on an individual level, my inner journey has taken me at least 3 years, okay? At least 3 years to get to where I'm at today. So on a collective scale, I would imagine multiplying that by 3. So it might take 9 or 10 years until we see the full aftermath of the healing and the integration and the processing and the releasing collectively, right? There's 8 billion people on this planet. Like, it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it'll sure speed up if everyone just like banded together, right? If everyone just got sick of like the government shit and just decided like, oh my gosh, like, okay, so I have these neighbors, right? This one guy who lives next door to me, he delves into the polarity of Trump and standing with Israel, and the people across the street from him, literally directly across the street from him, dive into the polarity of Joe Biden and Ukraine. It's like literally the exact opposite stuff, okay? I'm like, oh my God, can you just imagine if you two would just get over your stupid programmings and your stupid manipulation that was like projected onto you, like just get over that and just band together, right, as an entire neighborhood and say, you know what, like we have different beliefs and that's okay, but what's one common denominator that we're all sharing around the world is the freaking government structures that aren't working. Hello. Like, why is nobody paying attention to that? Why is nobody paying attention to the common denominator? It's time to start paying attention to the common denominator. Okay? So, yeah. I'm just gonna leave that there. Anyways. I needed to say that. I really needed to talk about that. Okay. So, what does the wound of loss teach us? It teaches us about the natural grieving process, that it is okay, it is normal to grieve when you lose something. That is just a part of life, okay? It's like having one of your loved ones pass away or your pets passing away. It is natural to grieve. It is natural to release in that way. Crying helps regulate your nervous system, okay? So don't suppress that with alcohol. I used to do that, like, that was a thing. That was a defense mechanism. That was like the way I was avoiding my wound of loss, was just drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking myself to death. Like, please don't do that. Yeah, that abuse literally doesn't do anything for you. It just pickles you, and yeah, just don't do that. Also, I feel like it teaches us this lesson that life is a gift and that life is very precious and life is very sacred and It's just like a full-blown miracle that we're even like incarnated into a physical body in the first place, right? Like, for those of y'all who have absolutely little to no experience in the non-physical, I highly suggest that you guys start getting into deeper trances of meditation, astral traveling, like trying to consciously leave your body, trying to become conscious in your dream world, right? Like, because then you'll start to understand that, like, this experience, this human experience, is very unique and very special. And I feel like it's not that common to be able to incarnate around the universe into this particular experience. Okay, so I just want to say that loss really teaches us how precious life is, okay? It teaches us to be grateful in the present moment for every experience we have with an individual, you know? And I feel like this impermanence of life just really deepens our layers of experiencing and understanding unconditional love. And I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I want to say, maybe I was like 9 years old. So I had this cousin, I can't remember her name. I was like so young. But anyways, I remember going to her funeral, and she was a microbiologist, like she was super smart, and she allegedly died through suicide, which wasn't the case. I actually connected with her on the other side, and she actually was threatened by the government because she figured out something she wasn't supposed to figure out, and she wasn't supposed to know about it, and she figured it out through her work, and basically she was like killed off for it, but it looked like a suicide, right? And so anyway, I went to her funeral, and I was like, why is everybody crying? Like, why is everyone so like sad and grieving? Like, why? Because I was so detached. Like, I don't know why I was just so detached as like a child from like everything, from like experiencing death to experiencing getting molested, like just so many different things. I was just so detached. I'm like, why is everybody crying? Like, she's still here. Like, she didn't go anywhere. You know, it was like I was so close to the veil that I was just like not understanding what everyone's big deal was. But now, like, being an adult, you know, you're like, okay, it's natural to grieve. It's like a natural process to do that. You know, like, kids are so gifted, I swear. Like, if you have kids and they're super psychic, like, please encourage that. Please don't suppress that in them, because I feel like being a psychic and like tapping into the non-physical really helps you like make your life so much easier, like, honestly. Yeah. Anyways, so a really good affirmation that you could say to yourself is, you know what? I don't take anything for granted. And change is good. And mustering up the courage to facing the fear of the unknown. That took me forever. That took me years to like deal with. Oh my God, it took me years to get to that place. But I feel like once you surrender to the unknown, you're kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that the universe has always got my back no matter what. So even though I don't know what's coming next, like, I know that I'm supported, and that's all I need to know, right? And I feel like when your basic needs are met, like when your physical needs are met, and you're really doing well on the Maslow's, whatever his name is, like that hierarchy of needs, like once you've hit self-mastery, I feel like, you know, there's really nothing to be afraid of at that point. Like, you're just fearless, right? Like your home life is great, your financial situation is great, like you're, you know, working your dream job, like you're doing all this stuff, and you're like, well, I don't know what's coming next, but I'm pretty good in all the other areas, and I don't really need to worry about anything, so, you know, whatever happens just happens, right? So anyways, yeah, and I kind of want to touch on the friendship aspect of this wound as like reprogramming your egoical narrative, which is allowing people the freedom to literally go in and out of your life and honoring the time that you guys have together. I feel like this isn't talked about enough, and I don't know, personally, the way I grew up, nobody around me ever talked about it, so it just felt kind of like awkward to talk about, if that makes sense. Anyways, I grew up with the notion that the friends that you make are supposed to stay with you for the rest of your life. And oh my God, I wish I had a teacher back then to tell me that the different friends that we make in life are for different seasons and different versions of ourselves, okay? And I actually had one of my spirit guides tell me, I think back in 2022, yeah, so like literally a year ago, they were like, not everybody can go with you. And that hit me so deep because I was like, wow, like that's so true. Because somebody can be okay with this unhealed aspect version of yourself because it's a mirror reflection of them and they feel comfortable with what's familiar, right? When you start shedding your old layers and you start healing yourself and you really start stepping into your purpose and your life and your mission and your whatever it is that you're stepping into, like your dream job, your dream life, your dream everything. And then all of a sudden that same friend goes, what the fuck? Ew, I don't like this. I don't like you anymore. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you miserable like I am? Like, why? Now we have nothing in common, right? It's like, okay, yeah, like I healed myself. I'm moving on with my life and my life has always been full of change and growth and evolution, and it's just like there's nothing here for us anymore, and that's okay. And I feel like because I was always around people who got attached to me, like in friendships, like I always moved in a very detached way with my friendships. Like I always knew that like they were never going to stay, but like had this belief that was projected onto me that we're supposed to keep friends around, which, I never like lived by that, thank God. But anyways, like I was always detached, and like every time I knew it was like time to go, like I just left. And sometimes I'd say something like, hey, like, this friendship isn't resonating anymore, like you're an amazing person and it's just time for me to move on, like I really wish you the best. Like I feel like that is one of the most beautiful ways to exit a friendship. Also, you can just like go no contact, go little to no contact. I feel like I had to do that with a lot of my friends, a lot of my old friends, because had I said that to my old friends, I feel like they would have gotten very explosive and very projecting, and I'm like, I didn't want to participate in that energy, and so I just went no contact. And some of them might be like, oh, well, she ghosted me or whatever, but it's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, look at the kind of person you are, right? Like you're not mature enough, you're not emotionally mature enough or mentally mature enough to be able to handle anything I have to say to you. You're not going to hear me. The only thing you're going to hear is that I hate you and that I don't like you and all this stuff. Like you don't have the mature capacity to handle what it is I'm going to say to you, right? Like, so yeah, I really wanted to touch on that because I feel like it's really important. And just knowing that life is very impermanent, this experience is very impermanent, will help you a lot. It'll help you stay in a more detached state, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the law of detachment and how things just start coming to you the second you get detached from it. Like, yeah, it happens for a reason. So if you want to know more about like universal laws, definitely go on Amazon and get some books about them. They're really fascinating. I haven't read any books on the different laws. I just know them from my soul experience. Like I just know about law of cause and effect and law of detachment just from my own soul experience. Like I haven't read a book on it because it's just like common sense to my soul, like if that makes sense. And so anyways, all right, I'm going to cut it here. Thank you guys so much for being here today. This was a really intense conversation, and I'm really grateful that everybody could be here to listen to this, because sometimes these intense conversations are needed for healing to initiate. And so yeah, I'm just super grateful for each and every one of you, and I love you all so much. You guys are amazing, and I'm so proud of you for healing yourself. You've got this, no matter what you're going through. Know that the universe always has your back. You're always supported. Things are always going to work out for your highest good. And just know that deep down, okay? Love you so much, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.